Hi, this is Evan Freeman at Taylor Restaurant down in Soho. I'm going to show you some of the equipment that you'll need to get started with your own home bar. The first rule is that you don't need all this equipment. I've gone guerrilla style at many keg parties with 2 plastic cups, any glass that I happen to find, and a spoon. So you don't really need all of this. But if you are really interested in outfitting your bar fully, I'll talk you through all the different equipment that you might want to purchase. The first thing that you'll need is glass. And again, it can be any glass in your home, but preferably you get yourself a standard 16-ounce mixing glass. This you use to stir your drinks, and it's also part of what's called a Boston shaker set that we'll talk about in a little bit. The easiest option really is to get one of these home versions, which is a shaker all-in-one. It has a strainer piece in it and also happens to have a jigger on it as well for measuring, and that's really the easiest way to get started. Now, as far as outfitting your bar further, you've got your mixing glass. You're going to need something to stir with. Again, you can use any common house spoon, but you might want to go out and get a bar spoon. Something that's a little bit long, maybe something with a muddling end, something that you can measure in also. I happen to find something interesting, which is a spoon that actually has a pivoting end on it, so it actually makes it easier to stir. And I've also got these small little spoons that you can do little taste with that are kind of cute. So there's a whole variety of spoons you can use, really. The next thing that you'll need is what's called a 28-ounce mixing tin, or shaking tin. This fits right on top of your mixing glass and creates what is classically known as a Boston shaker set, which you can put together and then shake your drink in this way. Most professional bartenders these days are using what's called an 1828 set, which is a 28-ounce mixing or shaking tin with what's called an 18-ounce cheater tin, which fits neatly just like that glass does, sticks out just a bit, and you can put those together to shake. Another option for shaking a cocktail is a cobbler shaker, which has 3 pieces. There's a cap, there's a strainer on the side of the top, and then there's the bottom of the shaker, and they all fit neatly together, and you're able to shake within 1 unit. You can find those in a variety of sizes. You might want to start out with a smaller shaker till you're comfortable with it, and then move up to larger shakers. Another option is to simply use a glass like an old-fashioned or rocks glass and slip your cheater tin right on top and shake it in that manner. It's very important when making a cocktail to get your proportions correct, and the way to do this is to go out and get yourself some jiggers. Now, you can find something that has all the measurements in one, but you may want to get 3 different ones so that you're actually able to change them up as you use different spirits or liqueurs. What I suggest you get is a 1/2 ounce, 1 ounce jigger, another jigger that's 3/4 ounces and 1 1/2, and a third jigger that holds 2 ounces and 1 ounce. That's going to cover most of the measurements that you're going to find in any cocktail book. You may want to go out and look at some interesting things online and find silver jiggers like this and add them to your collection. I think are really nice. Well, now that you've got your liquor inside of your mixer and you're shaking it, you next have to think of how you're going to strain it out of there. There's 2 main kinds of strainers. The first is called a julep strainer. It's called a julep strainer because originally they used to have these things called julep spoons, which were actually used to go inside the julep cup and keep the mint and the ice from going in the mouth. A julep strainer is used when you're using your mixing glass and to strain the ice out of a mixing glass because it fits more comfortably in that mixing glass than a hawthorn strainer. Hawthorn strainer is a strainer which looks somewhat like a hawthorn, and this one here actually has no handle to it, and it has a nice tight coil. I think it's important to get a nice tight coil on your hawthorn strainer to keep bits of mint and other thing that may be in. Another option is to use a fine mesh strainer to keep all of those bits out of your drink. You might want to pick one of those up. Again, when you're back online, eBaying, you may get into buying old antique silver pieces like this, which I think make a nice complement to the home bar. Or maybe an old antique silver julep strainer like that is great, but I warn you, it's a very addictive habit. Next, I think you'll want to get a hand-pressed squeezer for citrus, for your limes and lemons, so that you can have the freshest juice possible. You probably also want to get a channel knife zester for garnishing. And you may want to get a vegetable peel like this. I find it very helpful in making twists. Another thing you might want to get is muddlers. There's a different variety. I suggest whatever you get that it be fairly hefty and it not have any varnish or paint on it, as that tends to chip off and get into your drinks. You may even want to get something that's made out of glass, like this nice one I picked up from Steuben. I think is really nice. A couple more items which aren't mandatory, but I think are useful to have around. Is an egg separator, in case you don't like to get the eggs all over your hands, and also an ice whacker like this, which is simply a bent piece of metal that adds a little strength when you're trying to break up ice cubes and make different sizes. And that's the basic equipment that you'll need in a bar. Again, an expanded version. You don't have to buy all these things. You can pick and choose what you like, but I encourage you, if you're serious about this hobby or this profession, to try and invest in all these things.